Occasionally you will be working with a data file and you have to go somewhere else where you will not have access to it. Your data file may be coming from your local server. It may be coming from the cloud. It may be provided by another source. But because you're traveling somewhere or you're going to another building, you won't actually have access to that data file, but you still want to be able to work on it. Perhaps you're getting on an airplane. So Tableau has two data use features. One is a live data and one is an extracted data feature. Let's go look how each one of those works. So here's our typical Tableau interface. And what I'm going to do is extract a file. I've actually already got a file open here. This file is your Tableau combined division data. It is available to you in iLearn. So what I'm going to do next is I am going to extract that file or open that file, and I'm going to go get it. It's in here. It's right there, Tableau combined data, and I'll open it. And when I open that file, it doesn't like it. I've got to use my data interpreter, and it gives me my data. You notice I've got 3 divisions, I've got 4 different products, and I've got sales, cost of goods sold, and gross margin information for those products. So if I wanted to run this, I want you to notice this up here. Right up here in the upper right corner, there's the connection of live and extract. We're going to start with live data. Then we're going to look and see how we can use the extracted data feature. So live data means that if you've got access to the data source, if you can link to the data source, any change you make in the data source will be reflected in your charts. So let's go see how that works. So here we've got our stuff. Let's put our product up here, and we will put sales up there. So we have sales for our 4 products, and we've got that information. And let's go back over here and let's add a division. Let's see what happens when we add a division called North. So we're going to add the Northern division, and I will copy that down. Then we're going to add the 4 products. We'll copy those down. We got our formulas we're going to have to use. And of course, right now they'll all say 0 sales because there are no sales yet. But I'm going to put these numbers in, and let's say these numbers are the Ranger has, let's just change, let's say they have 100, there's 75 for Rovers, 50 Survivors, and 10 Dominators. Now, if I go and right click and hit refresh, at this point nothing is going to happen because I haven't saved the file. So I have to go back and I have to save this data file. So when I save this file, it's going to want, I'm going to save. It's going to say, do I want to keep it? Yes. Now, when I go over and click on, see up here in this under data, I right click on that sheet. I go to refresh and watch what's going to happen. It changes all those numbers. They changed. And just for fun, I'm going to put product in different colors just because that's the way I am. Okay, so we've got this data. It's also interesting, not only can I add that kind of data, I can add a lot of different kinds of data to my item. So if I go down here and I add year, so let's go back to our file, we're going to add year, say it's 2019, I'll copy that down, and I'll save that. And now that I've saved it, if I right click, I want you to look at what happens. Watch what happens down here when I right click on refresh. I want you to watch that. When I right click on refresh, this is going to change. Refresh, and boom, there's my year. You notice it's a continuous measure. Now I really want year up in my data or my dimension, so I'm going to drag it up there and watch this. It's going to change it to a discrete data item. So that's really, so I've got that information in there now, and I can now add some more data. I can update this, and every time I update my Excel file, I save it, and when I hit revise or revision, or what is it, it says, my mind's going blank, when it hits refresh, it will automatically include the new data in that. So let's go back and look at what happens if we don't use this data file, but instead we have a refresh data file. So we called our data up. Here's our data. And now this time, let's click on extract. So I'm going to click on extract. And I am going to, it tells us that it'll extract, it will include all data. So now I'm going to go to I'm going to add a worksheet. And when I add my worksheet, it's going to ask me to save this file. So I'm going to save this file on something called extracted Tableau combined division data. And I will save it on my local system. Again, we're assuming that this data is coming from somewhere else. So we'll save it. And once I've saved it, I can now work with it. So I can go here. I've got my cost of goods sold. I can put it in my division. I can put in, if I wanted to, I can put it in by year, and I can put my sales in there. Okay. So there it is. I've got my information. It's all for 2019. So let's say that I wanted to add some more data. So I'm going to go add some more data to this, and give me just a moment to do it, and you'll see that we have the new data. So just like that, you can see we've got our new data, and this time it's for 2020. So I'm going to save this file, and I will save it on our PC as our Tableau combined data. And I'll say yes. Now let's go and update this data. So if I right click and I refresh the data, you'll notice absolutely nothing happens. And that's because this is no longer mapping back to the original file that we had. This is now mapping back to our other data, our extracted file. So if I want to see what that looks like, I'm going to go to File. Oh, excuse me, I'm going to right click up here on this sheet. I'm going to go down to Extract, and I'm going to go to the refresh button under Extract. And it'll tell me that it's going to say it's going to replace that other file, and when I do, it updates everything for me and adds that data. Now, so I've got this in here, and another way to do this. Let's say I came back to this thing later, so let's just get rid of this, and we will close this out and start over again. So let's go see what happens if I actually load up that file that I saved earlier, that extracted file. So if I was going to go File, I'd go to More, and when it goes to More, it's going to ask me to go find the file. Now, it might not actually show it initially, because you might be looking in something like, it might look something like this, and you don't see it, right? So I'm going to go and open up All Files, and when you open up All Files, you see there it is. There's my extracted file, and I can actually open that file. You will notice this file does not include the new information for 2020. So if I go here and if I look at year and I go for sales, oops, all I have is year 19. I don't have sales for anything except that 1 year, because this file has not been updated. I never saved or updated this file. So when I was working with that data earlier, if I was going to go in and take that data that I had, I would want to go up to File, and I would want to save that. I didn't do that earlier. So let's go see what it would look like if I did that. So let's go in here and close this. There it goes. And we will actually go in and connect to our Excel file. So let's say that what's happened is we have, we'll go back to this point, and we've got all this data in here for 2020, and I'm going to go up here, we're going to pull this, whoops, didn't like that, I got to go back to my data source, I got to clean it up. And so I'm going to go and we're going to pull, I'm going to move year up here, and we're going to do by year, and we're going to do sales, right? And we're going to do it, just put it right there. So we got that data file now, or we could do what we did before. We put by year, we could put sales, and we get this chart. It's only giving me for the 2 years. Okay, so if I did it by product, let's just go back and do it by product. Oops. There's our sales that we had earlier. Now, if I wanted to save this as an extracted file, I would need to go do File, Save As, and I would want to find this again in my find that original data file. I'm going to go down and pick. Oops. I'm going to save this as a extracted data file. Oops, I can't even spell it. Extracted 2, just for the naming. And I'm going to call it a TWB. Remember we said earlier there's a difference between a TWB and a TWBX. I'm going to save it as a TWBX. And I will save that file. Now, if I ever want to go back and open this, I'm not working with a new data set, but I wanted to open that file, I would go up here, open file, open. I could go here, I could find my extracted 2, I could open it, and it would take me right back to where I was. And if I wanted to do this by product by year, I can have that. I can take my years and I can make them different colors. So I've got I can compare my 2 years. I can do a lot of stuff with this data. So again, if I'm using live data, I just save the data. If I'm using extracted data, what I'm going to need to do is go save the file once I'm done working with it, and then I can pull it back up later.